How's it going today, Q?
I'm scrambling.
Scrambling?
Yes.
Like a quarterback scrambling out of the pocket?
No, like an egg scrambling on a piece of toast.
Ooh, that sounds pretty good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know it's so hot out in Las Vegas right now that you can actually scramble an egg on the street. It's 115 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
We should move.
Yeah.
We're going to that conference.
What's the conference?
HoshoCon.
HoshoCon?
Yeah.
Tell me about HoshoCon. What is that?
I don't know much about it. I just know that Dima set it up and I'm going with him. It's at the Hard Rock. I know that.
You know well, that's cool. That'll be fun. You know what's interesting is I guess today's episode is going to be about crypto conferences. And we had a guest on. She is the wonderful and now famous Miss Carla Maree, as she's known on the Maltese island. And she said that in the crypto world, you could probably live out of a suitcase because there's so many blockchain and crypto conferences going on now that you could never go home. You could just live on the road.
Yep. Just be a nomad, one conference to the next.
You'd be a crypto roadie. Bitcoin
I like that.
Roadie.
No, I'm not even going to start. There's so many crypto personalities on Twitter that have all those names, but yeah. No,
we should do an episode one day where we just go through the best Twitter crypto handles.
That's a good idea. I'm sure our listeners will hate that. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we'll bring that up next episode.
Okay.
If you think that's a good idea and you're listening to this podcast, hit us in the comments on YouTube, hit us in the tweet box, hit us right in the feels on SoundCloud.com. Right in the feels. And let us know if you would like to see us do some commentary on some awesome Twitter dialogue.
Cool. Yeah. So that Hosho, I'm looking at it now. The Hosho conference is October 9th through 11th. We're just giving them free plugs right now. We actually just partnered with Hosho. They're a smart contract auditor. So that's something that Dima set up. So props to Dima, a little clap. But yeah, I'm going to head out there October 9th with Dima and Joe, and we're going to attempt to survive Vegas.
That's a pretty important service that they offer ICOs, or people that are willing to invest in ICOs, is actually smart contract auditing, because a lot of these people that are looking into these sorts of projects, maybe they're not sure what this smart contract's all about. And a lot of times the smart contract actually facilitates how you're going to get paid out with tokens once you make your contribution in ETH.
Exactly.
So if there's some sort of crazy exit scam going on, it's always good to know that the project's been audited by a third party.
Definitely. I think that's something that was sorely needed in our industry, and we thank God that Hosho's doing it for us.
Hosho, faux show.
But yeah, so I don't mean to talk too much about Hosho, because I know our guest is part of, well, at least is the brand ambassador for the Malta Blockchain Summit, and that's something that we're really interested in. I think me and you are trying to get out there.
We're going.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whether it comes out of my pocket or it comes out of your pocket, we're going.
Okay. Sounds good. It can't come out of both of our pockets?
No, one or the other.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sounds good.
We'll see who buys more lunches this month.
Definitely, but I'm excited for it, man. I know you were looking at all the speakers. I know you just kind of going out there just to experience Malta, because I think to many of us in the crypto community, like, we hear about Malta all the time, but we haven't actually been out there.
Right. Well, and they're in the headlines so much. You see all these big companies moving there, or at least locating a second office there, having some sort of relations with the Maltese government, and they're really doing a good job of defining what their crypto regulations are, which is huge, because you look in the U.S. with the regulations for utility and ICO sales. Is cryptocurrency a security? Is it a property? Is it what's the other commodity?
Yeah.
There's so many definitions out there, and what some of these places that have become more crypto friendly are starting to do is they're starting to really narrow in the definitions of what these things are, so that when you go there, you can act in accordance. And as someone who's pretty anti-regulation across the board, it does make sense in certain circumstances where if I'm going to start a company, I want to do a token sale, I know that if I go to a place like Malta or like Bermuda even, then I can know exactly what I need to do to make sure I'm on the right side of the law. Whereas with some of the more Wild West places, which it's a shame, but the U.S. still is kind of a place like that.
Yeah.
If you run a utility token sale nowadays, you don't know what the final verdict is going to be as far as, is the SEC going to come crashing down on you midway through your token sale, or is everything going to jive and you'll get away scotch-free?
It's interesting to hear her talk about how them being a gambling kind of haven, or what did she say, iGambling?
Yeah, I think they call it iGaming.
iGaming?
She said it started as gambling, but then they changed the name, or they try to make it not so blatant, like gambling is the thing.
Gotcha.
iGaming, I thought it was.
Yeah, so she had said that because they had that iGaming, they were almost prepared for this crypto wave, for the regulation that would follow with that. So that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, and I think obviously you have the huge conferences here in the U.S. You have Consensus and New York City, but that was kind of overhyped and overblown. And people from ICO Alert that actually went to that conference said it was just 24/7 people shilling, and the markets didn't react to it at all. But what if this Malta Blockchain Summit turns into the next big conference that you want to be at?
Yeah, I think it definitely has the potential, from hearing what she had to say about just, not only the speakers, but the events that are going on around the conference. I think this could be like one of the events of the year.
Right. Once we get into the interview a little bit, you'll hear all the speakers that she listed. But it was funny. I remember when I first brought up the conference, someone in the office was like, well, take a deeper dive into this conference. Is this legit? Is this a real conference you want to go to? And I was like, well, I don't know. Let me take a look at the speakers. And I looked at the speakers, and the very first keynote speaker is the Prime Minister of Malta.
Yeah.
So he's a world leader. I mean, however small of an island they are, he's still got a lot of, political influence and power. And you don't see that. You don't see that with blockchain and crypto.
I wonder what is it that makes these islands such a draw? Is it literally the weather? Like, is it because they're so small that their government can work like very nimbly and with agility, that they can get these regulations passed? Like, what is it about specifically islands that makes them a haven for these cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe
or projects.
I mean, this is just a theory, but if you have an island, you only have so much land, and so your jurisdiction isn't as large, so you don't need as many representatives to take care of that piece of land or take care of your resources. You're limited to the amount of people that can actually go there, mostly by, again, the amount of actual livable land that you have, but also because people don't just go to Malta as a destination yet. Whereas, New York City or some city in the Midwest, Chicago, it's very easy to get to. I can get there at any time. So I think maybe that's why these governments are looking for opportunities to bring people in, bring industries in that would actually make them a destination. And like, as you mentioned, there's not as much bureaucracy when you have such a small plot of land, and you're trying to get yourself up to the point where you have more bureaucracy and more problems to deal with. More money, more problems.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm excited for what it's going to do to these islands, honestly. Like, I don't know the exact history. I think we went into a little bit of the history of Malta, but as far as what crypto can do for a good amount of these countries, it's really exciting. Dude, I saw, kind of being devil's advocate here, I saw a video of, it was Brock Pierce in Puerto Rico, and I guess they had staged like a town hall meeting, and as like a kind of a feel good thing between all of these crypto projects and these influencers that moved to Puerto Rico, and it basically erupted. Like the locals apparently were just furious at the people for being there, because they said it was something like a second tier colonization, pretty much. It was like another colonization. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear both sides, because you almost think like, oh, Puerto Rico, they would be happy to have all of these crypto projects, and then you see that meeting, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I actually saw the same video, and they were freaking out about it. And I mean, Puerto Rico is probably in a state of distress just from the recent natural disasters that have taken place there. But I saw a specific woman in the video that was like yelling at someone there, some blockchain.
It was Brock.
It might have been Brock, yeah. And she was like, half of our city's still destroyed, and you guys are coming in here with all your money. And it's like, well, I don't understand what you want. I mean, do you want people to come in here that are going to bring better infrastructure to the city? Because you need development. You need private development. The government, obviously, if it's been so bad for you, isn't going to lift a finger for you.
Yeah.
And regardless of what your politics are, Puerto Rico isn't the number one thought in the hearts and minds of the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because if you do have enough private, investment in the infrastructure and enough innovation there where all of a sudden, holy shit, all these people are moving to Puerto Rico. I know like Peter Schiff, I'm not sure if you know who that is, but he's like a big time sort of Wall Street guy. He made a lot of money in investments, and he's got like his own gold fund, and he's pretty well spoken with cryptocurrency. He's actually sort of a cryptocurrency opponent. But he has a lot of investments down in Puerto Rico. So it's not just cryptocurrency moving down there.
Yeah.
But I think, you're going to have people that are going to fight against no matter what innovation is.
Yeah, you're never going to be 100% in having the support of the community. I understand that. One thing I kind of did agree with her on was that if all of these projects are coming into the community or into Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican community should have some say as to like the standards which those people are coming in. Like they should be able to set the rules for all of the projects that are coming into Puerto Rico, in a sense. Does that make sense?
So like what do you mean exactly by rules as far as...
I have no idea. When I mean rules, I mean the regulations that they have to follow, maybe the tax breaks that they have to follow that go back to Puerto Rico. Like
right.
You don't want the project setting the tax standard for what they're going to pay.
Right. Well, and I could actually see that as being one of the most contentious points because Puerto Rico has really good tax breaks. And maybe that's part of the reason why the people that are down there that are screaming or whatever, however you want to say it, they're seeing this as a company's coming in, they're taking advantage of the tax breaks. Maybe they're not hiring people in the local area, and then, they're just kind of taking advantage of the area, like I said.
Yeah.
But, from my perspective, it's, if you're going to set up an area with low taxes and good incentives for industry to grow, high tide's going to rise all ships.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. But I can make the argument against myself and for those people. I just don't necessarily agree with the way they say it. So as far as like, should Puerto Rico be able to regulate it, you don't want to stifle an opportunity before it presents itself. Obviously, cryptocurrency itself has so many crazy things going on, so many people getting scammed, so many people pulling exit schemes, and I just watched this documentary yesterday. Oh my God. So when we had the interns on, we were talking about Tether.
Yeah.
Turns out I was so ignorant to Tether. There's probably 1 million people listening to our podcast that wanted to smack the shit out of me.
They always think that.
Yeah, I was so ignorant to Tether. I watched this documentary. It's on YouTube. I think it's only like 40 minutes, called Decentralized Deception. And it talks about how Bitfinex got hacked and then created Tether as a way to sort of print money, like as if they were the government, and they were paying people in IOUs through Tether, saying, "Oh, don't worry, this is backed by the dollar." And so all these people were like, "All right, I think they got hacked for like 75 million or something, some crazy number." And they recovered it all through selling these IOU notes.
It's and like then the 1940s.
Yeah, and then when people went to go withdraw their Tether, it said, sorry, only like certain accounts can withdraw with a max or with a minimum amount of $50,000, and like you had to like basically be an insider to them.
What?
And so if you were just a normal retail investor and you had maybe 10 grand of your whatever you worked up with crypto, and you got the IOUs back, or even if you tethered up from Bitfinex and you were like, I just want to get out, I want to convert my Tether into US dollars, you couldn't do it. You had to have 50,000 minimum. So
what eventually happened? Those people obviously still to this day aren't having that issue.
I honestly don't know. This was I think this was just happened at the end of last year. So I've never been on Bitfinex. So again, another
Gall would know.
Yeah, we gotta get Gall on one of these episodes.
Yeah, talk about his margin trading.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to these conferences, and I think it'll be an eye-opening experience, and it'll be good for us, I think, like individually, to go to a place like that that's so bullish on the crypto market and on actual blockchain technology, whether you're a Bitcoin maximalist or you believe in altcoins or you're there to make jokes about shitcoins.
That'll be us.
Yeah, it's fun to go in and be in that atmosphere. And Malta, the way Carla talked about it made me optimistic about the area.
Oh yeah, you could tell that the community was behind the government in every way, other than the example that we just talked about, Puerto Rico. So I think Malta has its head on straight as far as where it wants to see crypto kind of come in and help the island, and drive it forward. The island and the projects are helping each other, and I like that aspect. I think they know where they want to go.
Right. One of the only other big news things I saw coming out was, and this is actually kind of local local news, sort of. BNY Mellon Bank, which is actually founded here in Pittsburgh and then was acquired by Bank of New York. So now, obviously, BNY Mellon. The Coinbase's new chief compliance officer, Jeff Horowitz, just finished his first day on the job. This is off of Forbes, actually. Horowitz spent much of his career managing brokerage, custody, and clearing and settling solutions and setting his sights on the future, especially as it relates to two of Coinbase's latest push into enterprise cryptocurrency solutions. So it seems like cryptocurrency is continuing to sort of make moves into legitimizing their relationships with banks and the ability to allow people to sort of convert from in and out of US dollar or whatever the local currency might be that the users need.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, can I be honest? I was like looking something up and I heard none of what you said.
That's fine. That's fine. It's so Coinbase has a new compliance officer. It's
Gotcha.
a big BNY like exec. His name's Jeff Horowitz. But the thing that's interesting about this is I was looking at something on Twitter today, and Coinbase actually, the usership has gone down. I mean, everything's kind of gone down in this trend, but a lot of people were commenting that the banks are doing everything in their power to try to block users on Coinbase. So if you go onto Coinbase, and I'm not sure if you've ever done this, but have you ever gone onto Coinbase and used a credit card or like a debit card to try and, say you want to get into the market really quick and easy?
I see what you're saying, but I've never done it. I've only done it through the bank account.
Yes. So if you do through the bank account, typically you have to wait 3 to 5 days or something like that.
It's about 3 to 5, yeah. Well, are you talking about like for the registration or for when you're trying to transact into Bitcoin?
When you're first trying to purchase Bitcoin.
Yeah, when you first are. But then I think what Coinbase is doing now is the instant transaction. Okay. So now, I don't know how it is now, but back in early 2018, so my first couple transactions were in fact 3 to 4 days.
Right.
And then after they noticed
after they knew you were a whale.
After they knew I was a whale, they started to give me instant transactions.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So the way I've done it with Coinbase is you have to use a debit card. I've had a debit card hooked up to my account, and I do have my bank account hooked up too. But I guess I'm not enough of a whale to get the instant
not many
transactions. Yeah. I'm a krill. So the krill way of doing things on Coinbase is you have to...
Tell me more.
You have to put your debit card in. But the thing is, I would put my debit card in. I'd get charged a fee. Obviously there's interchange fees and stuff like that are associated with a normal payment.
Yep.
But then I would get a $30 or $40 charge from my bank.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and it would be from just PNC saying it was some kind of international fee, which is total bullshit, because if I buy something on any other international site, they're not going to hit me with some $40 fee. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that the banks really are kind of going out of their way to block these transactions or make it harder for people to flip from cash into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that would be my natural reaction. I would be surprised if they didn't. I mean, Coinbase is the biggest on-ramp for the average user, the average retail investor. And with every person that comes to know Bitcoin and comes to the transaction speed, the idea of, I think the original slogan was "Be your own bank" kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That means that they're out of their bank, or at least a percentage of a percentage of their capital is being put into Bitcoin as opposed to held in that bank, held in a PNC. So screw you, PNC.
I hope they're not listening. So
the only other thing I had was it's kind of a weekly thing here. We kind of go through our comments, and I kind of wanted to call out Omar Bob.
Omar Bob.
Yeah, Omar Bob.
What platform did he hit us up on?
YouTube. We always get one comment on YouTube, so this one's...
Come on, let's shoot for 2 this week. Can 2 of you out there comment?
Guys, please, this is what I'll do. If we don't get a comment on YouTube, I have to give you 5 ES.
Okay, wait. Now we're betting ES. Great. If we don't get 2 comments?
Yes.
Okay. So if we get 1 or less?
Yes.
I give you 5 ES.
Yes.
And if we get 2 or more, you give me 5 ES.
You 2 or more? Oh, okay, because I see you switching it around because you think our users will help you out. Okay, I'll do it. I'm down. I'm down with it. Sounds good. But anyways, Omar Bob gave us the E comment. So thank you, Omar Bob, for that.
Thanks, Omar Bob. We really appreciate that feedback. Big shout out to you.
We always strive to get the best content out there for our users. So thanks, Omar. You're really setting a good example out there. Awesome.
All right. So I guess then, without further ado, we are going to get Carla Vella, better known as Miss Carla Maree, on the line, and we're gonna talk about the Malta Blockchain Summit coming up in November.
Yo, Q.
What's up, Ev?
What is the ICO Alert Roundtable?
The Roundtable is a casual discussion about current events and coins that we're passionate about. What isn't the ICO Alert Roundtable?
The ICO Alert Roundtable isn't tax, legal, financial, professional, or any other kind of advice.
For sake of transparency, members of this week's podcast own the following coins: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and EOS.
Okay, so we now have on the line from the Malta Blockchain Summit, Miss Carla Vella. However, on the island, she informed me most people know her as Miss Carla Maree. Carla, how are you?
Good, thanks. Feeling quite honored by the formality of Miss before my title also, so I'm thinking of adopting it now.
Miss Carla Maree, I like that.
Sounds good.
It rolls off the tongue nicely. And if you're
very, very nice.
If you're as famous as you said,
if you like.
well, you should be the one to trademark it because it sounds so good. So, if you're as famous as you say you are in Malta, then a lot of people are going to be saying that during this upcoming blockchain summit in November. So, the reason we guys brought you on was to talk a little bit about this conference that's taking place in Malta. And if you just want to start off by sort of giving us an introduction to you and your background, and then tell us something about the conference.
Great. So I'm a local. I'm what we could define as a Malteser. I've been living on the island most of my life. I have a background running large organizations. I was CEO of a family office focusing on investments in the fintech and gambling sector, which is quite another prominent area of business on the island. And about a year ago now, I took the nosedive down the blockchain rabbit hole and haven't really come back out. So that's a little bit about me. Once you go in, it's like hard to recover. But it's definitely a wonderful ecosystem to be in, and everybody's opened me with open arms, and I've learned so much in this past year. So we're hoping that the Malta Blockchain Summit can be very much that type of that kind of thing that kind of people come to and get that same feeling for the ecosystem. I think that's one of the very important pillars that we try to help people get out of the summit.
That's pretty amazing. So you're actually Maltese native, and you're kind of right in the eye of the storm as far as fintech and cryptocurrency goes. It kind of, you didn't go find it found you, or were you sort of interested in cryptocurrency and then it just so happened that Malta turned into this hotspot for the industry?
I think I found it. I was about a year ago, I started to explore how blockchain could solve KYC, AML, and the process that entails around the sovereign identity. Became very, very interested in the space, started following, Winnie from Civic and Newport Consensus and so on, and really just tried to really kind of self-educate and started to meet some fantastic people on the island who were also super passionate about, blockchain in general, but also identity and so on. So that's the kind of how I got into it, so to speak, and it's just really kind of encapsulated from there. I'm now studying my master's in digital currency, have my own podcast, which should be launching around the time of the summit. Yeah, and also have some other exciting news, but we can talk about that in another session. So that's still up the sleeve for now.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. We didn't know that you were Maltese native before this podcast, so this actually can go in a few ways, but I'm excited to ask you this question. What was Malta like before this crypto, and what is the history of Malta basically, as far as business-wise?
The history of Malta. We've been invaded by everyone.
Perfect.
Just to correct you, I'm actually Australian Maltese, so I'm Australian born, but I've lived most of my life in Malta. I'm actually from the sister island, Gozo, which is a much smaller island than the main island, Malta. It's a wonderful place. Malta, prior to the whole, ICO, the regulation position that has come out in the last year as well, Malta was most prominently renowned for the iGaming sector, a light touch of calling it gambling. We call it iGaming, where most of the largest gambling companies within the European landscape, because obviously it's illegal in the US, have had strong premise in Malta. So a lot of young, enthusiastic, tech kind of minded marketeers and digital developers and people in this space have mostly all touched in some shape or form or know somebody who has worked in some of the most leading gambling companies in Europe. And I was just one of the lucky ones who was able to work my way up in one of those companies and actually lead one of the prominent brands that was focusing on the Scandinavian market. The reason why it feels so, to me as a Malteser, and now I'm going to lead them to myself being called a Malteser rather than Miss, but to lead into blockchain for us is very natural. Why? We've been one of the standing countries in the European landscape that has long regulated gambling, which is something that has been seen as, maybe not so well received by multiple governments within the European landscape, right? So we're used to that kind of regulational protocol around things that have been perceived gray by many other jurisdictions. And when it comes to blockchain, everybody on the island, the lawyers and all the big firms are just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get on board with whatever the government's proposing here. Let's help them. Let's educate ourselves. Let's get people in from abroad. Let's understand this landscape, because this is the next gray kind of area that lots of people don't want to touch. And we've got experience in facilitating and maintaining those type of companies and running those companies. So I think a lot of the people on the island have been open-armed to blockchain, and especially the regulation around blockchain, which the government has put forward now. So it's very, very positively received.
Yeah, it sounds like there's definitely a lot going on there. And we've been hearing your friends across the pond here over in the United States have been hearing a lot of headlines and seeing a lot of good news coming out of Malta, especially with the relocation of some larger exchanges and some larger cryptocurrency companies moving in there. But I do want to touch on the actual blockchain summit and what you guys are doing, the whole event there. And if you could just give us sort of a high-level rundown of what's going to go on and what the dates are so that our listeners can take advantage of that information, we would appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. So the Malta Blockchain Summit is going to be held on the 1st and 2nd of November. However, with just pure excitement around everything that's been going on, the team, just a little side note here, we're a team of 20 working behind this conference. So it's not a small deal. It's quite a great deal, and we'll talk about speakers in a minute. But it's actually evolved into a blockchain week. So we actually have Malta Blockchain Week as well, running up to the conference. But the principal days are the 1st and the 2nd of November. And over those 2 days, we are running 4 different conferences. So the conference opens with regulatory and investments in the ICO, in the blockchain space. The afternoon is based on affiliation and marketing. And then day 2, we open with tech. And we close the conference with cryptocurrency and tokenomics conference. So there's actually 4 conferences happening over 2 days. And one of the key kind of things that we were adamant in ensuring was that we wouldn't have a situation where one person would show up and wouldn't be able to attend some of the other conferences. So none of the conferences overlap. If you want to come and attend all 4, you can attend all 4. Apart from that, on day 1, we have an awesome hackathon happening. The prize is substantial there. So it's 50,000 euros there up for grabs for the hackathon, and that's happening on the day 1, on the 1st. And on day 2, we actually have an ICO pitch, which is kind of like a Dragon Den style 3-hour session where 20 ICOing companies will be pitching in front of a panel of some pretty impressive investors. I mean, I'd be scared if I was a startup pitching in front of these guys. And I have a background in venture. So no fear, just come.
Yeah.
But it's looking pretty cool, and we're super excited because we have been inundated with people coming to us wanting to speak. We've been working really hard on trying to get like some of the really super names in the sector out there. The conference content is quite diversified, and we're constantly updating and uploading new topics and new speakers almost on a daily basis. With the hope to finalize that by this month.
could you actually give us some details as far as the speakers that you're going to have at the Blockchain Summit?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, and I think this is probably one of the proudest ones. so bragging hats on. We actually have the so-called father of blockchain, the guy who was actually referenced in Satoshi's white paper, Scornetta. I'm hopeless at pronouncing his surname. So he's actually referenced 3 times, I believe, in the Satoshi white paper. Apart from that, we have the Prime Minister who will be speaking at the conference, and maybe that's not somebody who everybody knows in the blockchain space, but it's worth noting that our Prime Minister actually knows how to talk about blockchain, which is quite impressive as well. You know, it's like how many Prime Ministers of countries can actually hold a discussion about, about blockchain. So that's pretty fascinating. We also have Sunny Dillon out from Silicon Valley. We have Mike Butcher, the editor of TechCrunch. We have Eva Kali, who's one of the members of the European Parliament and heavily focused on blockchain. Yeah, the list goes on, and you can actually see that all on the MaltaBlockchainSummit.com site under speakers. But there's some really impressive names there.
Yeah,
and more to come.
It sounds like there's a full slate there of people where if you're involved in the industry in any way, shape, or form, whether it be wanting to see the next innovation or trying to find out what's going on with regulations and legislation and things like that, then there's someone there for you. So I love the star-stacked cast that you guys have going on there. Zach and I actually are both lobbying hardcore to let the ICO Alert team send us there and be representatives of ICO Alert. So hopefully we'll see you there and we'll be able to chat in person with you guys about it.
I think another part worth mentioning is that a lot of people, I mean, you can travel to 101 different conferences on blockchain. I mean, I think I could practically live out of a suitcase for the next year, just traveling from conference to conference. But what we're really trying to do is make this conference with an unconferenced part. One of the key focuses for us is that we do pack the days with all the information and content. So that you can dip into and out of the conference sessions. We also have an exhibit floor, so you can actually walk around an exhibit floor and actually go up and speak to some of our sponsoring and companies present. So if you have a fantastic idea and need that idea developed, there's going to be companies who can help you with your blockchain development. If you want to speak to the actual regulation authority, they're actually going to be there. So you can actually get hands-on and up front and close with the authorities. There's going to be plenty of legal firms you can just walk around and speak to. But further to that, the evenings are probably just as exciting as the days because we have tons of evening events. Nobody will be sitting in a hotel room having a dinner alone. There's tons of dinners happening which you can get formally invited to. Some of them you can subscribe to. So we don't believe in that kind of philosophy where you just come for the day and then you go to your room. This is the type of event where you turn off your laptop, you come, for 2 days and you just embrace it because there's tons of stuff going on. Yeah, there's even like a crypto cruise, so that's going to be fun. Cruising around the Grand Harbor. Crypto cruise. We all need a good booze cruise.
I'm shocked that people in crypto want to get on a cruise and booze.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's going to be an amazing experience for everyone that goes. We're actually trying to help you guys promote it a bit on our end here. And we'll have a discount code for people that are listening to the ICO Alert podcast. We'll be plugging you guys away. Again, the dates for that is November 1st and 2nd. And I don't want to get Dennis in trouble. I know Dennis is the guy that kind of helped us get in touch with you, but
I always get Dennis in trouble.
He mentioned, now he didn't tell us exactly what it was, but he said there was going to be a really juicy announcement on October 31st that people, if they're heading to the conference, they might want to be there for it because it could be something that's sort of historic in the crypto space. Are you willing to give us any more details about that, or at least confirm that there is some big announcement brewing?
I can give you this. There is a thing called the Blockchain Awards happening on the 31st. And all the proceeds of that event actually go to charity. So if you can rock up to that event, there has been some rumored discussion, and this doesn't get Dennis into trouble, probably get me into trouble, but it's okay, that some people are going to actually dress up in costumes because it's actually Halloween. So I'm a bit scared of what that might imply, and you never know what Dennis is going to wear, but...
So crypto Halloween party.
So it's a blockchain award turned crypto Halloween party, and there's been some interesting banter between some of our guests on what they're going to show up and wear. So I think you just have to come and see.
Well, we're excited. We hope that our listeners out there, got some good insight on the whole conference, and hopefully they can make it out there to the Malta Blockchain Summit. I really want to thank you for coming on and joining us. And if there's anything else you like to, plug away or let us know about it, whether it be about the summit itself or about Malta, feel free to let our listeners know about it.
Absolutely. The conference is going to be held at the Intercontinental, which is in the one of the most central areas of Malta. We're having lots of people contact us, asking us about accommodation. If you just look for any hotels in the St. Julian's or Potcheville, Slima area, you're going to be completely fine. We don't have Uber in Malta, but we do have a couple of taxis that you can, install via your phone and just get on demand. So there's no concerns about that type of transportation. It is mainly sunny, but we cannot obviously promise sunshine. But November is known. I mean, I've been out in t-shirts in Malta in November, so we hope that the weather plays along with us during the conference, so that the whole island gets to shine, because it's a real gem. Lots of people don't know how really beautiful it is in Malta. But apart from that, like I said, the Malta Blockchain Summit is a team of 20 people. We're all here and ready to help. It doesn't really matter who you are. We just welcome everybody with open arms, and there's going to be tons of people around. So we just hope that we share the ecosystem and learn and share and collaborate together, really.
Yeah, well, we're definitely excited to hear about the announcements that are upcoming, and I think we're going to be lobbying hard to get out there, and can't wait to see everything that's going to be a part of this. I think it's going to be a very nice, very legit conference.
Same. So thank you, Miss Carla Maree. We will be in touch with you, and hopefully we'll be seeing you guys out in Malta in November.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
ICO Alert maintains the only trusted comprehensive list of pre-ICOs and initial coin offerings. This Pittsburgh-based startup has grown to serve over 1 million users in less than a year. But how did it get started? Well, at first, the company was just an online tool for two brothers, Mike and Rob Finch, to keep a calendar of their favorite ICOs. After just a few months, the team has grown to over 14 team members and produced hundreds of ICO reports. These in-depth reports feature exclusive interviews and offer insight into past, active, and future ICOs. Head on over to ICOalert.com, meet the team, and use their game-changing My Portfolio function. Track your favorite blockchain projects. Become your own venture capitalist. Only at ICOalert.com.